Welcome back to In the Trenches with myself. We are in the pre-recording room today without Harrison on the board, but I still have a special guest with me. I have Ahman Green, former Husker player, and I'd like to let you introduce yourself.
Former Husker, two-time national champion. I was a freshman newcomer of the year, my freshman year. Second year, started off season good, and got turf toe.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
That was terrible. Was out 2 weeks, came back probably way too early. Probably should have took a month off, if not longer, for the turf toe to heal up. But I was one of those players where I could play. I could deal with pain.
Yep.
And we all at football and most sports athletes, traditional sports athletes, we have a pain threshold.
Yep.
So my pain threshold was very high, and then it was part of me I can't be out there without my teammates, or my teammates. Right. I got to be out there with them and try to help them win games and do my best part. And so sophomore year ended with fracturing my second metatarsal in the first play of the Colorado game to end the season. So it was the first play. I could feel the pain. Didn't know it was like a stress fracture.
Right.
This what is that? It's feels like a knife cutting through my foot. And got the X-rays. When I came off the field, and within a half hour, it was like, oh yeah, it's a tiny stress fracture, and yeah, that's what it is. So missed the Big 12 championship, the first one. Me playing would have been a different picture of a game for us. It was crazy. Like everybody got sick.
Oh, really?
That day, like everybody had the flu, and I was like, "What?" I was home in Omaha, watching it with my girlfriend at that time, the game, and I was just frustrated. Like I broke foot on the couch watching the game.
Yeah,
it was still a good game. Like we fought it out, but it was a couple plays where Texas Longhorns got the better of us. Mm-hmm. A couple play action plays here, got the first down, and it was game over. But I think we only lost like by a touchdown or 3 points, so it wasn't much. And then junior year, with all that, what happened on my sophomore year as a team too, like we took 2 losses that year too. I didn't even mention that. Like we lost to Arizona State, and then we lost to Texas in the Big 12. Mm-hmm. And so that was for motivational for myself, because now I was like an upperclassman, and now I wanted to be one of the leaders on the squad. Like I looked up to Tommy and Aaron Graham and Aaron Taylor, Lawrence Phillips, Clinton Childs, all them guys that mentored me as a freshman. Now I can, be that player for incoming freshmen like Bobby Newcomb, D'Angelo Evans at that time, and guys on Ralph Brown, Mike Brown, and be a leader. And so that second national title was special to me because like I said, I was in the leadership role, being an upperclassman, and we went and did what we promised ourselves in the off season, working out and like starting from spring ball on to the summer camp, from workouts to training camp. We accomplished our goal that year to beat Tennessee in the national title game. And so, I did that and played ball in the NFL for 12 years.
Drafted. Yeah, you were everywhere.
Yeah, drafted to Seattle in the 3rd round. And I was I think about my career, I didn't talk about myself a whole lot, very humble. But as I think about it now, I think I was the player that a lot of people didn't expect to do certain things or to do what I've done.
Yep.
And then when I became a Packer, I was that player that fans love to hate.
Right.
Because between being a Packer and Bears rivalry, they knew I was a good player, but they hated me.
Yeah, right.
They're like, he's a good player, but God damn, he has to run all over us. And I'm like, no, it's business. It's a game. We got to win these games. Even though I was, but I am a Walter Payton fan.
Right.
So I played in Green Bay for those years, and it was, like I said, fun with the Bears fans. My wife is a Bears fan, so that kind of, it was interesting there, but it works. And then I went to Texas to play with the Texans in 07, 08. And that was a pure learning experience, because it wasn't my best time on the football field as a pro. It sucked. I had my dad passed away from cancer that year in the middle of the season, October. I had my daughter's mom was like giving me hell along with my daughters, and then I was still trying to play football in a new city.
Right.
So I had all that going on, and I didn't want to be there in the first place, because my agent. That's just being honest. My agent, I trusted since my rookie year, had Stacy told me this story about how Green Bay didn't offer me when it was an offer on the table. I found out after the fact. So a whole long story about that. But I still sucked it up. Like it's a job.
Right.
Like,
right.
I know this may not be the place I want to be, but you know what? I'm here and I got to give it all I got.
Yep.
And it was just unfortunate. And, injuries happen, right? Another injury happened where I bruised my kneecap. First game of the regular season.
Ooh.
Against Kansas City. It was one of their defensive ends came down, and just I was making contact with him. My knee and my foot all planted in the ground at the same time. And just boom. And then I felt it. I was like, oh. I felt the weight, but then I felt the pain. It was almost like the turf toe injury from college, but I was like, I'm all right. I didn't feel it right away, but then as the game went on, I was like, oh my God.
That adrenaline kind of wears off a little bit.
I was like, what is this? I was like, did I tear my ACL? Did I crack my kneecap or something? And then got X-rays after the game, and it was a bruised kneecap. All the inflammation and the scar tissue was like under the cap.
Oh, so it kind of pushed it out a little bit?
Oh my God, yeah, it was probably the worst pain I've ever had.
Really?
Being a football player, being an athlete.
Yeah, especially as a running back. I mean, you guys are dinged up pretty much
all the time.
All the time,
I would say, like during my career, I did the math. I think 80% of the time I was beat up.
That's so insane.
I was usually at 80%. I was never, once the season started, especially when I got in the NFL. I say college was a little different because it was, I say, a little less games, but we pounded in practice a lot. But I'll say NFL, 80% of the time I was never 100%.
Would you say that, like, with nowadays NFL rule book, would you say your position is a little easier?
Yes, I'll say, because obviously they took a lot of hitting out of practice.
Right.
And if I would have made it past the hump I thought was 2010, because they had the league meetings and the CBA.
Right.
And it was a little player strike there going on. I think it did happen. I'm not sure. It was 2010. I think if I would have made it to 2010 on active roster, I'd probably just be retiring now, because it was like, for guys that played with me, Charles Woodson, Peyton Manning.
Right. I played forever.
Right. And they just retired in the last 8 years.
Right.
And it's like, 8 years ago was like, what, 2023, 2020, or 2014, 2015. Yeah. Like, I could have played till then.
Right.
Instead of being 2009.
Right.
Being my last season.
But you can't know that at the time.
Right. Yeah, you don't know that. I just knew, I was like, with all that, because I was like, I did the math. Like, two-a-days took time off our career.
Right.
Between my two-a-days here in Lincoln, which were brutal.
Oh, right. Coach Osborne.
Yeah, it was, but it was it was his recipe, right?
Right. 100%.
That's how he coached us up.
That's why you guys were so good.
Exactly. Like, we couldn't wait till Saturday to play the other
easy
team.
Part. That was the easy part.
Playing against the black shirts in practice.
And on top of that, you guys won so much that, like, the starters were out after, like, the first, second quarter.
First, second, third quarter, right? They're gone.
I heard this. It was a joke, I guess, from back in the day. Like, the other teams, like, you do not want to play the second string. I heard that because they were, like, so eager to play because they knew they were going to play.
Right.
Like, they're so eager to play.
I was like third, fourth string. Yeah. My freshman year, I was fourth string, and so guys that were there, before I got here, that were now second stringers. That was like from 93 to 94. And they got their reps in. They know the plays. They know the audibles, from running backs to tight ends to the line. And the line was like the worst, like in terms of waiting time.
Right.
Like, you wasn't going to see the field because it was so many linemen.
Right. I
don't know what the number count, but it was definitely, I would have to say, into the 30s.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
30
linemen. For sure. Especially back then with, like, the amount of walk-ons.
The walk-on program,
was
right?
There too.
And the walk-on program, we had a lot of walk-ons become All-Americans and become first-round draft picks.
Right.
All around, not just O-line, which was awesome. Like, man, you could come in basically having to pay for school, and then you could leave out saving a whole lot because you just earned a scholarship. Yeah. And I think that was an ode to Coach Osborne, the way he coached us up, motivated us. And then the weight room and our training table. Yeah. Because obviously eating, working out, right.
Right. The training table.
It's for a football player. That's your milk. That is it.
Yeah. 100%.
If you don't have a good diet, or at least where you can eat something.
Yeah. Something not too
fatty. Right. Not too fatty. And good with Dave Ellis and crew.
Was Dave back there?
Yeah, he was here then.
Oh, but that's crazy. That's crazy.
And so he had the little,
shout out to Dave.
The yellow, green, and red areas.
Yep.
The yellow being kind of like okay, but the red being bad and the green being good.
And probably the red was the one that was always empty.
Yeah, I would say for other positions, not me. I paid attention when he showed us what to do, and I was like, every now and then I'll go to the red for a nice little cheat day. And I started my cheat days back then, but yeah, I say to finish up my career, yeah, ended it on 9, and then, then started my journey in terms of coaching, start coaching high school sports, but football, baseball, basketball. I think I did powerlifting 1 year, so kind of jack of all trades.
Did you do that at high schools?
Yeah, it was up in Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin,
yeah. So I was able to coach my stepson his senior year of football, which was awesome. We went 10-1.
That's pretty cool.
We won our division, and we lost in the second round of playoffs on a Hail Mary.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So, but it was like for that season, it was like awesome. I mean, for one, coach him and to see him develop, to help, and being a running backs coach, along with the assistant, developing all the other running backs and then showing him some things that obviously what I learned, as a player.
Right. And
then I helped with special teams a little bit because I played a lot of special teams my first 2 years with Seattle, so understood that and how to coach it up. But then getting into that led to then where I'm at right now. In terms of my career though, like you were talking, the training, it started here, understanding I got to do these things to keep my body in this, in shape
as good as can. Yeah.
Yep.
When did that realization come from? Because you said in 2009, was there a point in the season where you were like, okay, this might be the last one? Was it before the season? When did that come in?
It wasn't. I'll say it was probably later in that season because I was actually started the season. I was with no team. So I got released from, which was very happy. Got released from the Texans. And, just didn't work out, right? And it was button heads with Kubiak, button heads with Rick Smith, who was the GM. At that time, the youngest GM in the NFL. I think he was 35, and he was a GM of an NFL team.
That's crazy, too. Yeah.
Right, in 2007. And so happy to leave there, but obviously now I'm a free agent.
Yeah.
So I went back home. We still had our home in Wisconsin. Went back there to train, stay in shape. And the season started, wasn't on the roster, but I was like, hey, let's stay in shape. Talking to my agent back and forth. But nothing in my head told me this was it. Everything told me I got at least 2-3 more years.
Right.
Easy. Even as a backup, I'm okay with that.
Right.
I've learned.
They're still making a lot of money.
Right. I've earned my way. I've learned, and I could teach whoever the starter is what I know.
Yeah.
I could show them the way.
Right.
And I did a little bit of that with my second year in Houston with Steve Slayton. He was our second round or third round pick out of West Virginia. Little back, but fast.
Right.
So I kind of mentor him a little bit and say, hey, this is my, we'd be talking about the game plan or whatever. And I'll look at the list of plays that he would maybe get. And I'm like, hey, inside run plays, give them to me. I can handle that. My body can handle that because he was maybe 200 pounds, maybe 5.
Gets beat up quickly.
Maybe 5'9", right?
Yeah.
But he was fast as all get out, right? And I was like, I'm not doing this to try to get reps. I'm trying to save you.
Yeah.
I was like, because they're gonna expect you to take that pounding.
Yeah. Physically,
you can't. Mentally, you'd be like, you're young. Oh yeah, I could do it. No. Thinks, this is where I was training him. Think what your body can do. You're an edge guy. Stay up with that speed. Get to the edge fast. Give them problems out there. I'll beat up the middle. I'll tenderize the D lineman, in a game and where we could get the ball running up and down the field. And then we got play action all working working on strategy and stuff. So that was my 08 year. And then when I got to, like I said, free agent floating around in 09, didn't know I was going to land. Had a couple early workouts with the Rams and I think that was it. I think in person was the Rams. Everything else was like a phone call. And then about mid-October, I say mid-September, I got a call from the Packers, and I was home anyway. I was already in Green Bay, and they said, yeah, we might be looking to get a guy. Let's, we'll stay in contact. I'm like, cool. Didn't really, wasn't really a yes, but a maybe. I'll take that.
The hope.
So again, just ramped up my training a little bit more just in case. Came in to get on the roster, but it can never simulate real gameplay, right? You can just try to do your best to stay there, running sprints, keeping your endurance high. And so eventually mid-October, that's when I got the call, went over to the Hudson Center. All the scouts I know because I had been there previous 8 years. I'm talking to the guys, having a conversation. I ran through the drills and pretty much they was like, yeah, we going to sign you. I'm like, bet. And so it was fun to get back in that locker room. I missed it a little bit, not much. Because I was with my family, which I was really happy with that, reconnecting with them. But no, being back in there and then knowing like I said, again, never crossed my mind this would be it. It was just more focused on that moment.
Right.
All right, I got about 2 weeks of practicing that before, because they said we'll practice you're gonna practice for about 2 weeks before we activate you. I'm like, great, that gives me plenty of time to bust my butt, get back into game shape. Because as we know, like I mentioned, practice to game is two different worlds.
Very different.
So I made sure I took all the reps I could take, and then after practice, extra running, I did some gassers on my own, another 4 or 5 sets of that. So then come game time, I think the game I came back on was crazy. It was the game where Brett, he was a Viking, and he was my quarterback, but he was now a Viking with the Minnesota Vikings, and that was the game I came back in. And,
oh, really?
And it was cool. It was actually, like as a player, we know the business. In free agency, just like what y'all have now with transfer portal, all that. Hey, it was good seeing them, but I was like, you lucky I'm not on defense.
Right.
Because I'm starting this game, by the way, but I'm on offense. So we laughed at that, and he's like, good luck, AG. I was like, yeah, good luck to you too. I think they ended up winning, but I was getting back into the rhythm of things.
Right.
And the next game after that, I think we played the Ravens, and we actually did we beat? I think we beat them. And I had some good runs in there, but again, never once doubting. We ended up sneaking into the playoffs that year. And if you remember, I don't know, 2009, how old were you?
9.
9. So you probably wasn't really focused on.
I didn't even know what football was until I was 16.
Yeah, because that's right. You're international. I keep forgetting. Yeah, you're international. So yeah, soccer, rugby for you.
Yep.
So 2009, it was this game, and you can look it up. It broke some records for scoring in a playoff wild card game. It was us, and we had to go down to Arizona to play the Cardinals. And they had Kurt Warner. We had Brett. No, we had Aaron. I'm sorry. We had Aaron. And long story short of it, game went to overtime. It was like we got tied at, I think, 40 something. That's when we were tied, or 50 something. We were tied because no, it was 40 something because we lost the game, I think 53-56. And this is a divisional playoff game, and it was like a sack, face mask on fumble on Aaron, and they didn't call the face mask. They took the fumble and went, and then that's how Arizona ended up winning the game. And so I had some carries in there in that game. And actually, what was crazy was the week before the regular season game, we had played them. And
so it was back to back.
So I think we beat them to get in the playoffs, and then they beat us the following week to move on. Yeah. And I think they ended up going to the Super Bowl playing against the Steelers. Yeah. And Steelers won that Super Bowl. But in that game for myself, I mean, like I said, I had some good carries. I think it was the regular season game had some good carries. And I remember one play in particular, Calvin, I think his name, I don't know if his first name is Calvin, but his last name is Branch. He was a big D lineman, first round pick from Michigan. And he was probably easily he was pushing 330, 340.
Big guy.
Big dude. And so I'm running an inside zone play and got bottled up. And so I know there's no more yardage for me.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, but I see him about to lay heavy on me. He's coming around. I'm like, he's dropping his head. He's about to. So I saw that, and the good thing about the way I ran the ball, for me, the good thing was that it was bad for the other player if I saw you about to hit me, because I knew by that time in my career and my lifetime of playing running back and I played linebacker in high school and little league, I knew how to hit people. And a certain point, you thought, like, I thought I knew how to hit people before I got drafted, like here. Right. But I'm like, I just picked up more things watching like players in front of me or other running backs or tight ends or strong safeties hit people. And I was like, oh, I'm like learning other ways, like how you drop your hips or how you, explode into the contact. And so it was almost like, I'm pretty sure you probably seen any Kung Fu movie or something with Bruce Lee where they call it a 6-inch punch.
Yeah. This?
Yes.
Yeah, yep.
So I basically did that with my body. And it was same foot, same shoulder as well, if you know what that means.
Yeah, as a guard,
so I did it. I said, I got solid and I hit Branch, and all I heard was all the wind come out of his chest. Yep. He's like, ugh. And then we fell down together, because I said I was already bottled up. Right. And I saw him coming. I'm like, yeah, that's it. But I'm gonna make sure I hit him.
Right. So he doesn't hit me.
And so he doesn't hit me, and I don't absorb all that 300 pounds.
Right.
And I hit him. He hits the ground. I hit him. I fall on top of him, and I kind of roll off once the whistle was blown. Then he gets up and he looks at me. He's like, "How much you weigh, dude? How much you weigh, am I?" I'm like, 225. That was probably the heaviest I ever been. I was like 240. He said, "No, 225." He said, "No way. You hit me like you weigh 250." I was like, hey man, I saw you coming. I had to I had to get ready for you. So no, but still, like I said, never creeped in my head. Only time when it did was when the game was over. The previous week, the next week, the playoff game, we lost. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, now it was like, all right, because like when I was playing, I never thought of the bad part of sports, especially coming to the end of my career. With injuries and all that. Injuries happen. I had them. I had a quad injury in 2005. I had the turf toe when I was in college, and I had other like I had my Achilles flare up in 2004 at the start of the year. So, but I just like how I looked at it, it's part of the game.
Right.
And injuries, there's no prognosticator forecasting. Yeah. Oh, this is going to be the year I'm going to dislocate my shoulder. Yeah. This is going to be the year I'm going to break a finger.
Right.
Like, you don't know that. It's football. It's a physical sport. Constantly people falling at you. You're falling down in different ways, on your back, on your side. You just got to be prepared, like learning how to fall.
Learn how to roll out of it.
Stuff like that. Sometimes going with the tackle or whatever instead of fighting against it. So I just learned that from the time I was in Little League to the pros. So it's like never can predict that, but in all, like I said, sitting in that locker right after we lost, then it kind of hit me. But then it was like something else hit me too. I was like, man, this is the squad. Like if we have the same guys in this locker room that's here right now, this is the team that's going to the Super Bowl. Yeah. I just that just jumped in my brain for no reason. And then the next year, that was the team for the Packers that went to the Super Bowl and won, because their attitude right after the game, nobody was crying. Like you're gonna have crying, you're gonna have upset, stuff like that. No, it was almost a calm feeling of,
oh, we got this.
We got this. Yeah. We were this far away. Yeah. We went to overtime. Wasn't for guys had to break records to beat us today. Yeah. Kurt Warner threw for a crazy amount of yardage. Anquan Bolden and Larry Fitzgerald, they caught amazing amount of passes to break records to beat us. Yeah. So it was like everybody was like, even I remember walking up to Clay Matthews, and I believe that was his rookie year. And I'm like, hey, next year this is it. He said, yep, AG, we got this. We got this. And I was like, boom, this is gonna happen. And then things went the way they went. Didn't go in my favor in terms of signing with them, but I told him I was available. But that's how the business goes,
right?
Just and I knew that. I was like, if it happens, great. I'm gonna be on the squad. I did try to. I know it was like the end of the 2010 season. They had a couple running backs get beat up, and I was like, okay, this may be my opportunity. But I just like help my cause. I went into the office, had a meeting with Ted Thompson, who was the GM, and said, hey, look, I'm available. I'm cheap. I'm right here. And he said, I'll keep you on the radar. And then he said, well, we got some linemen that are a little beat up. We might want to get ready for the playoff. We might want to sign some guys back but either way, we'll let you know. And so they went with the lineman side of it, which was okay with me. Like I said, business, he told me straight up,
right.
What was going on. And I respected Ted Thompson for that. So at least he didn't sugarcoat it.
Right. There's no BS. It was straight up.
He said, look, if I sign you, I'll sign you. But, we got linemen we got to look at too. We got some beat up. We got to protect, the blind side, stuff like that. I was like, I get it. You're trying to win Super Bowl and end up doing that too. So.
Yeah, especially in like the NFL, like the roster, like it's really like the business side of it. Like you can't control like if somebody else gets hurt, that might like hurt your like chances of playing, because you don't have like in college you can have however many people on like during the season.
The backer,
exactly.
Right on the sidelines. Yeah. I think when we was in the regular season when I was here, I think it was 90. Almost 100 people dressed out. Yeah, we had triplicate numbers. People was like, Tommy was 15 and you saw two other 15s running around. Yeah. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, I think with us, we had for home games like 90 some, and then for away games it was like 70 some.
See, ours was a little bit more. We had home games. I think we dressed out almost 100 people, and then 90 on the road for us back then.
That's crazy.
Back then.
That's crazy. You have the 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s.
Right. And I remember once I got drafted, I can't remember if I was a Packer or a Seahawk. I just remember one of my teammates was like, dude, I remember playing Nebraska. We played y'all. He's like, I don't know if you were there or not, but I was just like, where are all these players coming from, man? He's like, it was first string, then they got benched, then the second string, then the third. He was like, what in the heck is going on? I'm like, yeah, we roll deep.
Yeah, and everybody wants to play. Everybody wants to play.
Yep.
Going away from like your NFL career, kind of like into that high school career.
Yeah.
I know you have your own like esports team here at Nebraska now, and when did you like stop that high school And like, where did that like I want to do esports? Like, where did that like come in?
It was like coaching in general was always there.
Mm-hmm.
Like once I started coaching in about 2010, 2011, it led to me then coaching my stepson in his senior year of high school in 2013, 2014, I think, or 2013, then 2014, another high school. So it was always there because I knew coaching. Like I understood it. I've been an athlete my entire life. I played baseball. I ran track. I powerlifted. So I got coaching. And I mean, I got it to the point to where I knew that when I become a coach, I was like, I'm gonna model myself after Coach Osborne. Yep.
We're gonna go a short break. This was a long segment. We'll be back for a very short segment and then another shorter segment. But we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to In the Trenches with myself, not with Harrison today, in the pre-recording studio, and with our special guest Ahman Green. The quick segment, I do it with everybody, with every guest I have.
Okay, I like that.
It's 3 quick questions, sometimes a little more.
Yeah.
I still don't have a name for it. Me and Harrison have not gotten a name for it yet.
But should be rapid fire or something. But In the Trenches, I know. But I say for the title of the show, great name.
Right. That's a good name.
Great
It
name.
works.
You did a job. You thought about it. Good
All
job.
right. First of all, what's your favorite movie? If you're not a movie show, like movie guy, what's your favorite show?
I'm a movie guy.
Movie guy?
Oh, yeah.
What's your favorite movie?
God, I got a long list. But I would say a movie I could religiously watch once a week, and by 4 times in a row, I could probably start knowing the lines is Aliens.
Aliens.
With Sigourney Weaver.
Okay.
The 1988 one.
I got you.
So basically, the sequel, at the time when I watched it when I was a kid, I was about 11. I didn't know it was a sequel. I thought it was the first one because I was 11.
Yeah.
And my dad said, no, it's another one that came in. And I was like, what? And then we rented that like a week later. And I was like, oh, this was so awesome. These aliens are brutal.
That's hilarious. Yeah. My stepdad actually, for some reason, he liked to do so like we watched Aliens with Predators together.
Yeah.
And he would do he would come into my room at late in the night, and I couldn't see anything. I'm asleep, and he would make that sound that the Predators made.
Oh,
yeah. And I was terrified because I couldn't see him because it was dark. Like my room was completely blacked out.
Oh,
you couldn't see anything, and all I hear is that, and I'm like terrified, right? Like I'm like 10, maybe 11. That's terrified.
It's
right?
a game changer.
But
there.
Great movies, phenomenal movies.
Yep.
All of them were great movies. There's a lot new ones now too.
Predators
right?
and Aliens, yeah.
There's a lot
they did
both.
They did a few collabos between. I say in the last 20 years they had about 4 or 5 collabos.
Yeah,
and then Predator kind of went on its own, and then Alien has another one coming out.
Right, yeah.
This summer or late April.
Okay.
I can't wait.
New one.
Yeah, I just saw. I went to go see the new Ghostbusters. Or no, I saw the new Ghostbusters, but this past weekend, Easter weekend, I went and saw the King Kong Godzilla.
Oh. Good movie too.
New Empire, awesomeness.
Awesome movie, yeah.
And they previewed the new Aliens. I'm like, oh,
you were like, yes.
So, awesome. So it's like in the April, I think it is. I can't wait. I told my wife, I said, because she's not the horror. She's only the horror fan because of me.
Right.
So it's guilty by association. But she's like, really? I said, yes, we're going to go see that.
We're going to have to.
We're going to have to see that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, the second part of this question is why is that your favorite? Like, why? What was like the point that made you really want to rewatch that movie every single time?
It was the fact, for one, the sci-fi, right? Yep. The sci-fi, the spaceships, the derelict planet that they, just the whole plot. Like Ridley Scott did a really good job from writing the script to, I'm not sure what he did, if he was all him with the special effects, with the aliens. Just all very cool to me, being 11-year-old Ahman at that time. And then as I grew up, they made a few notes. There's a couple new installments too, and kept Sigourney Weaver in it. I think they went to Alien 3 and then another one and a few. That's when the Predators came in and they split apart. But just the adventure side of it, it's the fantasy. Obviously, we know there's more. We know that we're not the only species out here in the universe.
Right.
We know that, but thank God that won't. Hopefully
we don't have those.
We don't have to deal with the xenomorphs. So I thought that was cool. The equipment they have, the military that was up there shooting different, like the guns they had was like, we don't have guns. Like,
right, we don't have those. I
hadn't seen a whole lot of guns other than my brother, who was a cop for 23 years. I saw a few of his. I'm like, yeah, that's not in it. You're not gonna kill an alien with that, bro. So things like that. But just like I think as a kid growing up, just seeing that stuff, and it was like imagination. Like, wow, you could actually put your thoughts on paper, create that story, and entertain a group of people, and then make a living. I'm like, man, I thought that was so cool. And then like the heroism in there with Sigourney Weaver character. Darn, I can't think of her name. I'm so excited, can't even think. It'll pop Ripley. Ellen Ripley, and just seeing her basically, fight for, even though it wasn't her kid, it was a kid she cared about. Newt, to go get her. They think because she's like, I know she's in there, so she goes in and just badass everybody. Like she just go ahead and pull up, killing the aliens, killing the queen. I'm like, and so I got so excited when I was watching this when I was 11. I lived in California. We lived in California at the time. We went to a drive-in.
Oh, drive-in theater! I love that.
Me too. And when that scene came up, when she's like going into the hive to go get Newt, and then it was one of the shooting scenes where she really had to let loose with the gun. I jumped out of our car and was like cheering like I was at a football game. Like, get her, Ripley! Get him! Kill all the aliens! My mom and dad was like, boy, get in the car. What's wrong with you? You got all the people. You distracted everybody in the car, in the drive-in theater parking lot. Get your butt back in. I'm sorry. I was like, I've just kicked them there. I'm just excited. She's killing all the aliens. I'm like, 11-year-old mind having fun. That was what happened right there. So it was that, like the whole storyline and the special effects, everything was like, man. And I was indoctrined by my older brothers and my older sister into horror films. So at age 11, I was a veteran. They started me at 5.
They were like, we're gonna get you.
So
up.
So kind of like what your dad was doing. My brothers and sisters, so they were teenagers when I was born, and they teenagers. I was like 2. And they were built-in babysitters, but they weren't the best.
Right.
So my mom's at work. And so this is how the movie thing and the horror thing started for me. So 4 years old, I'm actually running around the house, driving them crazy. They had friends over. I guess I was crashing the party, being a baby, not in the room, not want me in the room. And so their idea was to sit me down on the couch. So I'll stop running, and they put on Friday the 13th Part 2.
Oh, nice.
And froze me. I did not move off that couch the rest of the night. It worked. And then, of course, my mom comes on. I'm like, what's wrong with this baby boy? And I was just froze because I'm just like, obviously, frightened from this guy with a mask on, chopping people up, you know? And at that time, it was Part 2, so Jason just had the bag over his head. He wasn't in the mask yet. But still, it rattled 4-year-old mind.
Right.
But then later in life, like probably around 6 or 7, I remember watching either the 84 Ghostbusters, which was more of a comedy than a horror movie, but it's like I wasn't even shook. Like any horror movie after that, only a few that really got me was like The Exorcist 3 or Part 2.
The Exorcist got me good too.
And
those movies I cannot rewatch.
Exactly.
I'm struggling with those. Oh my gosh.
That's my wife. She can't do. She said anything paranormal, or like with the devil stuff.
Yeah.
But it was like I realized then that movie at 5 shook me, but it didn't. It basically got me excited to like, oh, that's it. Give me more. I was I do.
I'm trying to find those movies that were the rattling ones.
Exactly. I said I got to find the ones that could scare me. And so as a kid, it came across a few, but then as an adult, it's been hard. Nothing really truly that I've seen out there that like spooks me where I can't sleep. Or I'm not gonna go in that room, or I'm not watching that movie no more. It's very few, far between movies that can do that to me right now.
This sounds super stupid, but I remember watching It.
No, that was a good one.
And I was in Colorado. I was visiting my best friend. He played at CSU with me, and he was still there at the time. And it was just us two on the couch, and like the whole, like the way the house was set, it was like the couch was in the living room. The living room was open to the kitchen, and then there were stairs upstairs, and there's 2 doors. One downstairs and one the bathroom door. And I remember we're sitting on the couch, we're watching the movie, and this is a scene where like Pennywise is like about to come out. Like he's about to come, but you just don't know when yet, right? Yeah. And he is like, he like gets up and goes to the bathroom, and I'm like, bro, stop, don't leave, don't leave me. I'm like, stop the movie right now, stop the movie.
Yeah, pause it.
I stopped the movie, and I'm sitting there like with my phone and my flashlight, just like this. Like I'm not about to.
Oh, hey so man, terrified. It takes a lot, man. Because like I said, I was a kid, so I really was not ready for all that.
Yeah.
And now what I did, like with all my kids, I set them down, you know, probably a little older. I waited till at least 8 or 9 to introduce them to a horror film, or say, hey, we're watching something. If they said, can I watch? I say, yeah, come on, see if you can handle this, you know? So I introduced them a little later in life, but still, so now they're grown. I think my youngest is, my youngest is 22, about to be 22, April 10th. And then my oldest, my stepson, he's about 29. I think he'd be 30 or 29 this year in October. And all the girls, I'll say 2 of the girls for sure, and actually 3 of the girls for sure are all horror movie buffs. Yeah. Like they actually laugh at a bad horror film, like between the makeup, the dialogue, right, the jump scares, like, oh, that was terrible. Like they're critiquing it like they're watching NBA basketball or Madden or NFL Monday Night Football. Yeah. Like they're breaking it down like that. That camera angle was terrible. Oh, I saw that jump scare from a mile away. Yeah. I'm like, I raised you guys.
My daughter's right there.
Yes, those are my girls right there. So I was like, yeah, because I was like, also I'd be funny when I was like, hey, horror movies are practical. You can learn how to survive if the situation pops up. If you're paying attention to the movie, like I watched the movie, because most movies aren't scared of me. So I'm like, I'm gonna get something out of this movie. Hey, okay, now I know how to not, die to go into Camp Crystal Lake when you know it's a mass murder. Right. Just don't go down there. Don't go.
Do that. Don't do that.
Hey, tell your friends. Hey, you may not want to go. A whole bunch of people died last year, so what you think is gonna happen is just do the math.
Probably not a good idea.
Common sense. Just use common sense. There you go.
Do you remember? It was like a movie about like the Paris catacombs. It's called Upside Down, I believe, or something like that.
Ooh.
That one got me good too. It was like they came, like at the end of the movie, they came out of like the ground, and like the whole world flipped around.
Yep. It's not. God, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. It was like the monsters from.
That one got.
I had to. My head, I watched that one a couple times.
I had to stop watching it during the night, and I like had to like rewatch it during the day. I was like, I can't. Like I'm not gonna be like that one. Well, it's like because that stuff is like. Outside of like the paranormal stuff, the people that were down there is real.
Right?
I've been there.
That's your territory, right?
The catacombs in Paris are huge. Like there's people down there that are cultists. That are
really
Oh my, like that stuff is like a real thing.
Oh yeah, that might have hit me too if I grew up around there.
Like outside of like obviously like the paranormal and like the all the paranormal activity that was going on down there.
Correct.
But like the people that were down there, they're there. Like
I seen the movie, but I just can't think of the title. But that is I did not know that.
That scared the hell out of me.
That would probably scare me too. That would definitely creep me out a little bit. For sure.
So, I mean, it's going to be the last question for this segment.
Yeah.
It's almost over.
Yeah. You're good.
The last question is, when was the last time you saw Alien? Since that's like, let's say when was the last time like you were like, oh, let's watch a trilogy. Let's watch like.
It's been a minute. I'll say at least a year, because my wife, she's like, we watching this again? We just watched this. Da-da-da. So I was like, you know what? I'll hold off. So I've been holding off some of my faves. Yeah. But she has her faves too, and she's not horror. She's all comedy and chick flicks. Yeah. Which I don't mind. But I'm like, funny. Babe, they're funny in their way. I'm like, you just watch this. Oh no, I didn't. No. I'm like, well, don't start if I start putting Aliens and Ghostbusters and It and Friday the 13th and Nightmare. No, yeah, see, that's not fair. I'm like, okay, then don't keep playing King's Ransom. And what's the other one? It Happens in Vegas, the one with Carmen Diaz and Ashton Kutcher. Yeah, she watched every time I come home. I'm like, again. You know all the punchlines. You know what? You know they got married.
Still crying, laughing.
They were drunk. They got married in Vegas, and now they trying to be together because she wants the money. You know the routine here, or you know the plot. Like, come on.
All right, this was the shorter segment, I guess. Yeah. We'll be right back with In the Trenches with myself and Ahman Green. Welcome back to In the Trenches with Ahman Green and myself. This is a very quick short segment because, I mean, it's almost the end of the show.
Yeah, gotcha.
I had a couple more questions, but we'll just do this some other time. But I wanted to ask you. You've had a really successful NFL career. You've had a really successful college career, and you're still having a really successful life after. Let me say it that way, like life after football.
Yeah. Right.
as somebody like for me, like I'm going into like this pro stage now, like
Yep.
where this is going to be my life. You
Yep.
know, what tips?
Ooh, I like that.
What tips do you have for like a newcomer like myself, but
Yep.
also what were like your hardships coming out of college, going into the draft,
Ooh.
and then into being drafted by Seahawks?
Yeah, I say the hardships. It was, I found out like right away, like at the combine, it wasn't what I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
Like I went through, and we all did. All the guys that were there with me in 1998 at the combine, all the running backs and all the other positions, like getting there, I was a little excited and anxious because I gotta run. The only sucky thing going into it, a week before I strained my groin, practicing my 40.
Right.
And I'm like, oh man. So my agent said, just go anyway. Excuse me. Just go anyway. You obviously have a week of healing. You may be able to do a little something. Just see, but at least go so the players or the coaches and the teams can see you.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right. So I did, and I was able to run. Not my fastest. I still ran okay. Like I ran a 4.49, and then I caught passes pretty good, and then everything else was, pro agility was okay. It was a little sore trying to change direction because it was a growing.
Right.
So, but made it through.
Right.
Was able to manage through it okay. But the good thing was nothing popped.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was able to get ready for my pro day. But then still being there, I remember going through the medical examination side of it, which was like day one.
The under. Did you walk under the ground at that point too?
I think so. Well, it wasn't Lucas Oil. Then it was RCA Dome.
I got you.
But it was still in the same area.
Yeah.
In Indianapolis, and it was just the pull and tugging, and it was like all 31 at that time, 31 teams, and their tables with their head trainers were all lined up in this big ballroom.
Yeah.
And they were pulling and tugging on everything that I had listed down as injuries.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but if I'm at a table that's only 2 feet away and you hear me talking about my ankle or my foot injury, like the turf toe I had my sophomore year and then the stress fracture, and you're not writing down and get me through this faster, they were like, no, because you talk to their guys. Like these are like the Broncos to the Ravens or whoever, the Colts or. I'm like, but your table's right there. Why are you not taking the notes while I'm telling them? Because I'm you're gonna ask me the same question. They're like, yeah. I'm like, really? I was in this place pulling and tugging with all 32 teams, and I was like, wow. I was like, this is the NFL, huh? And it was like, okay, that was one thing. And then the next thing was I remember getting a phone call like at midnight. I'm in the bed. Actually, I'm just about to get in the bed. John Ritchie, he was a Raider. He ended up becoming a Raider and a fullback, played for a few years. And he was my roommate, and we get a phone call. And I'm not sure I can't remember if he picked it up or I picked it up, but it was one of the teams wanted to interview me at 12 a.m. I'm like, I got to get up for this is like the day before we run.
Right.
I'm just like, really? This is crazy. So it was just like the whole combine. I mean, the worst part probably was when I got weighed and we're all in our underwear.
Yeah, I did that the Hula Bowl too.
And I'm just like, this don't feel right.
Yeah, you feel like a piece of meat.
Right.
You feel like a piece of meat.
Yeah. I was running back 39. It wasn't a Ahman Green. I had RB39 on my sweatshirt and my shorts and my T-shirt underneath and all the stuff. Y'all got cool stuff. Our stuff was baggy. Like I was like, how you gonna run fast? How you gonna run fast when it's like
you're wearing basketball shorts?
It's like a parachute. It's a parachute slowing us down. Yeah. It was not Nike. It was not Under Armour. I think it was Champion.
Yeah, Champion made a comeback.
Yeah, they made a comeback. Back then, it wasn't it.
Yeah, right.
To try to run a fast 40.
Right.
And everything was super baggy. I was just like, this is it. So that was like my first eye-opening of like, wow. And now I'm hearing that it's going to be eventually gone and it's going to be pro days.
Right.
Where all the scouts get to check y'all out. So that was like my first like eye-opener. And I was like, man. And so just be ready for that. I say in terms of tips. And I say also getting drafted was an adventure, was fun, because obviously, like you would have thought me coming from a national title team, that would help. It didn't. I say had guys, all the scouts that are commentators that you see on ESPN today are still there now, like Mel Kiper, a few other guys trade in and out, but like he was the main one though, and he made a comment. I didn't watch it. I never watched while I was playing. I never watched ESPN, never watched NFL Network, none of that. And so my dad did though, but he would call me, be mad because of what they said. He was like, you telling me not to watch it? Why are you watching it, right? And so, but he caught wind of what Mel Kiper said in his analysis of me, and he's like, because he told me what he said. He's like, yeah, he said that you're not a 4-quarter running back, that he's injury prone and you can't catch the ball out of the backfield and all this other stuff, because they hadn't seen me really do it, because we weren't. Because we ran the ball, So at that time though, it didn't really click. Like, you know what, that makes sense. I was just like,
you're like, oh, whatever.
I was like, what? Exactly. I was like, whatever. I say, well, if I get the opportunity, they'll see. And because I played other sports, I played baseball, so I know how to catch a ball. Hand-eye coordination with hitting the baseball to the bat, stuff like that. So I'm like, whatever. My dad, of course, he's upset. But just hearing that, where it's like, wow, I don't know if that affected my draft status. And those other things, like they were judging me off of former running backs, right? Guys that like Lawrence Phillips, you kind of know his story. Yep. Tough story, unfortunate for his life here. And, after sports, what happened to him, and they were comparing him to me, or me to him, saying that they were assuming that since we hung
You're the
out,
same person.
I'm the same person. And it was like, and I think that hurt my draft status. So stuff like that, teams were like really not using the on the field stuff, which you learn, like, okay, they looking for on the field stuff and off the field stuff, but not really giving you an opportunity to like defend yourself or talk about it. So you got to be ready for that. And all I did with that, that type of information for me, I use that as motivation. Yeah. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna prove them wrong. I said, for all 31 teams, because even Green Bay went over Seattle, because I didn't get drafted to the 3rd round. So they passed me over twice and then finally picked me up. So they were just lucky because I was on their team. For anybody that was a player in that locker room, they only had to deal with me in practice. I was like, so I had a big chip on my shoulder up until I got to Green Bay, because I'm like, I'm here to prove that, for one, that I'm a NFL caliber running back, and that Nebraska running backs are worth the while.
All right. Well, like I said, this is the end of our show. We'll see you again.